No, what? There's no viewer appreciation. We'll do a viewer appreciation, but I'll announce it that it'll be announced on the on our Facebook page tomorrow. So no trivia tonight, and of course, with this segment, we don't do a what's it worth. So tomorrow on the page, I'll announce during the show at the opening that on the page tomorrow we will have the viewer appreciation prize. Okay? So we'll do that, and then you don't have to worry about being here or doing anything else. Okay? All right, I'll start the show.
I'm Gary Semix, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A with Joe Abbate.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Joe Abbate, and as Gary Semix just told you, you are watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, and tonight we have a special episode. We call it our Works For Me episode, and that is with Terry Good, and we will have Terry on here in just a minute. Tonight we'll be talking about a very, very special bike, a 1960 Monarch Lito. It was raced by Sten London, and yeah, we'll have that on. Now, in the meantime, of course, we do have to thank our sponsors. Racer X, the International Motocross Museum, Motion Pro, SoCal Mako. Thank you, Gary Quartz, Arma, Preston Petty Products, Full Circle Racing, and AMSOIL. If you'd like to become a sponsor of the show, one low price straight across the board for everybody, $249 a month. No contract, cancel at any time. That's $249 a month. And you'll get your name on the board just like this, just like Motion Pro or Full Circle, or we had Vinco up there, and we're expecting to get Vinco back in the very near future as well. So you can do that. Or for $49.95, you can get your name up there on the board, like Carl Word or Lou Blanchard, and that's for 90 days. And included in that is a T-shirt and a shop apron. Not a bad deal for $50. All right. Now, as I was telling you about the Works For Me segment a couple of weeks ago, Terry and I decided we were going to come on and do a show like this. And the first bike we decided to do was this 1980 Mugen 125 Honda. And was it to my surprise? No, it wasn't to my surprise, but it kind of was. It was our biggest episode as far as people viewing the show and sharing the show that we have ever had. So we decided to do it again. And this week, Terry and I are going to be discussing this bike right here. The 1960 Lito, formerly a Monarch. There's a great story behind it. This bike was actually restored by Sten London, who was a world champion from Sweden. This was his bike. So we're going to get on with that right now. I'm going to call Terry Good in here, and we're going to get on with telling you a little bit more about Terry, thanks for joining me tonight on Vintage Motocross Q&A.
Thank you, Joe. Good to be here.
You know, the last time we did this on the 125 Mugen, the Honda, and it really piqued the interest of so many viewers. I hope the International Motocross Museum saw a little rise in their viewership. I know the show did. So this week we've got something completely, well, I would consider this bike, Terry, the most historic bike in the history of motocross. I can't think of any other bike that really went over 2 years and basically was the same bike that entered Grand Prix 2 years in a row, had so many entries, had so many wins. Of course, we are talking about, Terry, what do we got here?
So that is, actually it was 60, 61, 62, 63, and 64.
It was
5 years.
Okay, and it was it did go from a Monarch to a Lito, correct?
Correct.
Well, why don't we kind of start with that, and then we'll go on through the pictures, unless you want me to leave this picture up right here while you go through the transition.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, let's start with this one, and I can tell you a little backstory about this bike.
Please.
Sten London from Stockholm, Sweden, was one of the top riders in the world at that time. And just keep in mind when you look at these bikes and, reflect on all this, these guys went 40 minutes plus 2 laps. Some of the races were an hour.
Wow.
But anyway, they did that on these bikes that weighed, most of them weighed around 320 pounds or so. And they went at insane speeds for what they were riding on all natural terrain courses. I've actually been to some of the tracks in Europe that they rode on, Namur being the most famous one. And I've ridden that track. I actually raced on that track once. But
that bike, Terry, while I'm thinking about it, 320 pounds. How many horsepower is that?
I don't know how many, but one time back in, I can't remember when, but Joel Robert was staying at my house. Okay. And he came down in the garage and he goes, let's start this thing up and try it out. So he made me start it. And every time he would tell me what to do and all. And every time I would kick it, he would tell me about this story about a guy where it kicked back and the guy went over the handlebars and, the whole thing. So I was really nervous. But anyway, we got it running, and I was shocked at how much power it had and how linear the power was. It was right from the bottom all the way up, and that exhaust made the most glorious sound you ever heard. I mean, there's no baffling or anything in that, and a full 500 Albin engine, all worked up and everything like that. It was really cool. And
I was saving this picture for a little bit later on in the show. But while you're talking about the engine, Terry, and I know you know a lot about it, I can't wait any longer to bring the picture up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, look at that.
Now here it is. And this transmission is not connected directly to the engine.
No.
Tell us who made the transmission, who made the engine?
The engine is an Albin engine. They were made, I believe it was designed in the 30s, and they were made for the Swedish Army initially. And then they were converted for motocross. And guys like Nessie Hedlund, and then this motor was actually done by Monarch, but they really breathed on these things. And I rode this. It is a very fast motorcycle, and that gearbox isn't the ones that Litos or Monarchs came with. It was the one Sten preserved, or it was an AMC gearbox, and he preferred this one to the standard one.
Oh, while I'm thinking about it, Terry, can you confirm Sten London himself restored this bike?
He did. And I'll tell you what, it was laying in pieces in his garage for years, and he gave you'll learn about the swing arm in a little bit, but somebody bought that off him, and I think somebody bought the front forks off of him too. And both people that bought those for other projects ended up never using them. And so Sten's son, Kenneth, who's I'm pretty good friends with Kenneth, came into the garage one day, and his dad was in there, and he said, Dad, you should put this thing back together. This was your world championship bike and all that. And so He did. And then Sten, oh, I don't have the swing arm. I don't have the forks. And so he went looking for him and called those guys who years before he sold them to, and they'd never used them. So it was easy for him to get them back. And he put it back just as it was in 1961.
Tell us about that cover. It says Lito Motocross. What's behind there, Terry?
It's a chain that goes to the ignition.
A chain that goes to the ignition on the other side of the engine.
No, it's on right behind that cover.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean.
And so there's an ignition at the top part of that cover.
Yes.
And then it goes down, and so that gives the spark, and then that. Anyway, I thought I sent you a photo with that cover off.
Cover off. I would have seen it, but we can always add it, and I would love to see it anyway. Let's.
Yeah.
How many speeds is the transmission?
4.
Okay. And something else that caught my eye here was obviously it's an oil tank underneath the airbox.
Correct.
How much oil does it hold? That whole bottom end?
I don't know.
Okay. Probably quite a bit. I mean, I'm asking in comparison to, say, today's bikes, which probably don't hold very much.
Yeah, I don't know, Joe. I never checked it. I think it came with oil in it.
Okay. But
anyway, yeah. And then, so why don't we go back to the beginning, and I'll tell you how this bike, came to, one more before that, maybe. That one.
Okay.
Okay. Stan London was given a used Monarch. It was built in 58, and he won the world championship in 59 with it.
Mm-hmm.
For 1960, Monarch was going to build him a brand new bike. And the Monarch factory was in Varberg, which is on the west coast of Sweden, and
yes.
Sten lived in Stockholm. So Sten was going to be real instrumental in building this bike. This is it. This is the bike that is now the Lito. And he moved over there. And there were engineers that designed it. They weren't just in a garage with, a torch and welding.
Yeah,
There's one-to-one scale blueprints for this, and I actually have those blueprints, the original blueprints that were drawn in 1959. They're in the IMM collection. But anyway, so he went over there through the whole winter that year. They tested different frames with the engine lower, different locations. They did all kinds of testing, and this is the bike. And so this was Sten's 1960 Grand Prix Monarch. And he raced that year, and I think he got second to Bill Nielsen on the Works Husqvarna.
Okay.
All right. Now, if you go to the next picture.
This guy?
Yeah. And so there the bike is again. Same bike. And the guy there with the fedora hat,
mm-hmm.
That is Lennart Varborn. He worked for Monarch, and he was in charge of the racing department. And after or during the 1960 season, I believe, it was sometime in 1960, Lennart Varborn passed away. So he died, and the Monarch factory, you couldn't buy these bikes. This was, keep in mind, racing, this is in the late 50s, early 60s. Winning the 500 World Championship was a massive, prestigious thing back then. It was like Formula One is now,
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Terry, wasn't the FIM the 500cc World Championship that had only been about 7 years running, hadn't it? Since the early 50s?
Well, it started out as the European Championship, And then in 57, it changed to World Champion, but it was the same series. Nothing changed, only the name.
Okay. But it was a very serious event, much like Formula One and the Monarch factory. Just quickly, Terry, because I know we can go off on tangents and so much happens. Was the Monarch factory a regular factory where motorcycles were built, and this was a special project for them?
Yeah, they built bikes, but small ones, that you could not buy this Monarch that Sten, that one there. You could not buy a bike like that. In fact, I have it on audio tape. Sten and I for hours talked on the phone, and I recorded everything because, and I believe they only built 5 of these. That one there that you're looking at is the 3rd one ever built.
Okay.
So Lennart has passed away. Monarch now decides, you know what? We won the world championship in 59. We're done. We don't have anyone else to run the racing department and all that. And we've already, we were the king. So what they did is okay, Stan, we're out, but we're going to give you your bike. They gave him that bike right there. And right at about the same time, there was a guy named Kay Bornebusch. And Kay Bornebusch was a motocross enthusiast. He raced BSAs in the UK, in England, as a young man. And his family, there he is right there with Sten. That's Kay Bornebusch. I've actually talked to him and recorded his conversations many times too. And he has since passed away. So we've lost both Sten and Kay. But anyway, Kay's family owned a lithography company, a big company that made children's books and did all kinds of lithography work.
Right.
And he just had this passion for motocross, and he was relatively wealthy. And so he decided he wanted to make a bike like that Monarch for sale for people, a guy in Switzerland that races the GPs. Mm-hmm. Maybe he rides a matchless now or a BSA, well, here's another option with that Albion engine. And so he was in the process of building a company called Lito. And Lito is short for lithography.
Ah, okay.
That's that's the connection. So, it just all kind of the stars lined up. Sten was now out of a sponsorship. He still had this fantastic motorcycle that he helped design and test and everything else. And so he went to Kay Bornebusch and said, hey, listen, I'll ride for you guys. I'll help you develop a bike. We can paint my Monarch green and I'll race it as a Lito. Huh. And that's what they did. And they actually signed a contract. And there were, engineers already at Lito. They had a workshop, a factory, the whole thing. And Sten was now the rider, and they painted that bike there green. And
so Monarch just wanted out of the GPs. They weren't closing the doors on the motorcycles.
No.
Because, of course, they went on to have that little 125 and so many other bikes that kind of became familiar as motocross grew here in America. But, okay, now I understand that. How it went from the Monarch to the Lito.
Correct. So that's the same bike there, the Girling shocks and all that, little different tank. But that's the Monarch, but it's rebadged a Lito. And here's an interesting thing about that bike. So they're back in those days.
Yeah.
Belgium was the center that was like New York City. Mm-hmm. It was the center of the universe for motocross. Belgium had races, several races every weekend, sometimes during the week. You know, Joel Robert told me, you know, guys used to say, oh, you don't train and this and that. He goes, what do you mean I don't train? I race 52 races a year, 250s and 500s in the same day, and I win all 4 motos. Don't tell me I don't train.
Yeah.
So anyway, the Swedes, you know, a lot of these GP riders would go to Belgium and stay there in the preseason. And the Grand Prix didn't pay much money. You know, it was the prestige, the FIM World Championship. But those international races, you know, there might be one in Genk, and there might be another one at the other side, you know, down in Wallonia or something. And the promoters would pay these guys like Sten to go there. Yeah. And so they would race for start money and get training and all that. And so these guys would go down and live in Belgium. And Sten told me a story. He used to stay in Liège.
Okay.
Maybe other places too. But he stayed with a guy named Hubert Scaillet, and he's also one of my favorite riders. He was a factory FN rider back then, and they would be racing, and they would report to the factory, you know, this, and that. And one time, Sten, you know, he said his hands were getting numb from the vibration of the engine. And if you can go back to that engine shot again, I'll show you something here.
Sure.
Yeah, there's all these little anecdotes. Okay, there it is. And so notice those head stays right at the top of the valve covers.
I see that just under the tank mount in the front.
Those are the first head stays.
Yeah.
In motocross.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Sten told me, and they're used to this day. So I thought that was really interesting.
It is.
And so anyway, he would call or telephone, I'm not sure what, but to the factory in Sweden, tell them what the problem was, and the engineers would come up with a solution. And that's what they came up with. And they would, you know, mail them to him, and he'd put them on and give a report. The other thing about this bike that is really unique is the front forks. Okay. If you can go to the front end, there they are. Okay. There's a track in near the airport when you land in Milan, Italy. Well, there's 2 airports, Linate and Gallarate, or Malpensa. There's right across the Autostrada, the freeway there. There's a motocross track that goes all the way back. And Sten was racing there and crashed. Somehow he ended up in a fence or something. Something broke on the bike. And this fan, it was a big race, a lot of people there. And this fan comes up to him and says, hey, my grandfather is a big fan of yours, and he would like to build you a special set of front forks for your bike. Okay. Who was that? Man's name was Chiriani. Wow. So was he building forks at that time, or? Not for motocross. So Chiriani built the first set of motocross forks for Sten London's Lito. And there they are right there. That's them. Wow. And you look at it now, I mean, Sten was so cool about when he put this bike back together. He left all the little rock dings and all the little patina in those front forks. And that is the very first set of Chiriani front forks. And if you notice the front brake backing plate, how the brake arm, that comes out and then it bends inside around those forks. And then the cable hooks to it. You look at that, and it's just a beautiful part. I mean, the thought and the craftsmanship in this bike are just incredible. I see what you're saying now, Terry. It bends around the fork, comes out the other side. We could barely see it there because it almost looks like the flange of a spoke
because it's
Yeah.
about the same. It's right in the picture of the frame of the flange of the hub. I see what you're saying. Wow.
Yeah. So that's just one tiny little part, but those front forks are the very first Ciriani's. And also that same, since Mr. Ciriani is a real big Italian guy, you know, Italian road racing and all that in Italy. Well, there's another real big company in Italy too that was into road racing, and that was the prestigious MV Agusta.
Okay.
And the engineers were good friends of Mr. Ciriani. Sten was now staying at their house. He became like lifelong friends with the family. And the guys from MV Agusta, you know, there was always that thing. Nobody ever is allowed inside that race shop. You know,
Right.
It was so secret in there, all those Agostini road race bikes and everything. So they said, and there was a little break or something in the frame. And so the guys at MV Agusta said, we'll take your bike and we'll put new braces on the front down tubes of your frame. And we'll repair everything. And so those big long braces you see on the front of the down tubes, those were put there by the MV Agusta factory.
I want to get up.
You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, in front of the down tube where it's like a triangle.
It goes all the way down from the steering stem all the way down. Yeah, those things there, the MV Agusta. And when Sten brought the bike over to the factory okay, here it is, they wouldn't let him in there, not even to look around or anything. He said, here, you leave the bike, you get out of here. And so, but that's it. Yeah, it's really cool. That bike has a lot of pedigree. There's another little thing on this bike. Oh, go to the triple clamps and you'll see that. There's stamps. Yeah. Since they're leading axle forks, it was parallel across, you know, the distance from the steering head was a lot less. And so there they are. It was testa parallel. You know,
yes.
Yeah, and the 36 millimeter offset or whatever was stamped into. That's it. That's from Ciriani. It's just so cool. Now, if you can go to the gas tank picture.
Yeah, I can go to the gas tank picture, Terry. How about this?
There it is. Okay. In 1961, that was the year Sten won the world championship.
Yeah.
He was at Namur for the Belgian Grand Prix. He gets the hole shot, and he's leading the race, and that strap holding that gas tank on fell off in the back of the track. And I'm not sure about that little aluminum bar underneath holding the right side to the left side. That might have been an after thing, but when the gas tank was flopping around, he thought, the first thing he says is, oh, my day is going to be done here shortly. The gas tank's going to fall off. And so Sten grabbed the gas tank with his knees.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm going to stretch this lead out as far as I can until the tank falls off, and then I'll DNF. You know, I'll just see how far I can get ahead of everybody. Well, he did that, got way ahead of everybody, and the gas tank never fell off, and he won the Belgian Grand Prix by a lot.
Fascinating.
Isn't it? Yeah.
It truly is. It truly is. And now, this
well, wait, go back to that. There's
go back to the gas tank?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay. So now Sten won the Belgian Grand Prix.
Yes.
He's back at his Mercedes with his trailer and, you know, probably wiping the mud off of this and that and whatnot. And this little 12-year-old boy walks up to him with that strap and hands it to him. And the little kid found the strap on the track in the forest back in Namur at the Citadel.
Yeah.
I just thought that was so cool. Sten couldn't believe it. And he said, you know, when I restored that, I had to make sure that strap was on the bike. So he repaired the strap, or, you know, whatever happened to it. And that is the exact strap that fell off that day and that little kid brought up to him. The other thing is when he put this bike back together, the tank was the paint was chipping and this and that. I would have probably left it alone. But he said he had those two stickers there were the last two stickers he knew of that were real Lito stickers, and they were in his desk drawer in Stockholm, Sweden. And so he made sure he used that. And in that Lito logo there, Helsingborg, maybe that's the name of the town, I think. But that you see in the H,
I see
the horizontal cross connecting one end of the H to the other end. It looks like a building kind of. That was an image of the tallest building in Helsingborg. And I might not be pronouncing that right, but that H is is for the name of that town.
Helsingborg. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Oh, it's very, very interesting, Terry, because I mean, for the obvious reasons, but I mean, there's not many people left that's going to be able to tell that story.
No, and thank God the motocross world has this sucker, because I'm the guy that spent a fortune in all this stuff and went all over the world getting these stories. These, you know, that would be lost forever. And there's a lot more where that came from, you know.
I wanted to get back to this picture because I wanted to know, there's a guy with a number 2. Is this the year he finished second?
No, this one, I think this is the 1963 500 Grand Prix at Sittendorf.
Okay.
Austria. Sten won this race.
Oh, this is the year after he lost the world championship by only like 2 points or something.
He raced this very bike from 1960 to 1964 and never got less than third. It has 56 Grand Prix starts and 13 Grand Prix wins.
Wow.
Nothing in history even comes close to this. And you want to know something? After I bought the bike, you know, when I bought this bike from him, go to the picture of him looking at it before they ship it away. That one. Okay. When I bought this bike, here's how I didn't even know what it was. I'd barely heard of Sten. I didn't know about the bike. And my good friend from Uddevalla, Sweden, Håkan Andersson, told me about it, and he suggested that I buy it.
What year did you buy it?
2006, I think.
Okay.
And he says, you should buy this bike. I was like, what? Okay, why? What? You know, oh, it's Sten London, you know, he was all this stuff, you know, I used to go to the Grand Prix and watch him, and this is a very famous bike in Sweden and all that. And so he put me in contact with the guy. Okay, there was a guy that talked Sten out of it, and the guy told Sten he would never sell it, ever.
Mm-hmm.
Right after we bought the bike from him, from Sten, he's offering it to me.
Oh.
And I didn't really know this. And so Håkan, and I was actually invited to buy it because of my passion for motocross. I'm probably more known for that in Europe than I am here. Mm-hmm. And the Grand Prix was it. I mean, so anyway, I was invited to buy this bike, and it was more money than I had ever paid for any other bike. I didn't know much about it and all that. And my first reaction was, I think I'll pass. And then Håkan talked me into it. And I am so glad he did. It was one of the best things I ever did was buy this bike.
Looks
And
like looks like we almost have a little bit of a cantilever on those rear shocks real early on.
yeah, that's the correct angle for them and all that. But after I bought this bike, it got around, and there was. Then I got to know Sten, and Sten was real pissed about this at first. And there was a somewhat significant article in the major newspaper in Stockholm, Sweden, about it leaving the country. And some ugly American bought it.
So did you buy the bike directly from Sten?
No, I bought it from the guy that bought it.
Bought it from Sten. Oh,
yeah, and he didn't tell Sten.
I got you. Okay.
And then so I got a hold of Sten, maybe through Haken or something like that. And Sten was he wasn't real happy with me. And then we got to talking on the phone, and he told me about that article in the Swedish newspaper, and that all the enthusiasts were really upset that bike is part of Sweden. You know, motocross is a big deal over there, you know, and some, you know, here's another American, you know, and if they found out I was a commodity trader, that would have probably made it worse. But anyway, that's what came out. And so I'm talking to Sten, and I'm saying, listen, all I want to do is preserve the history. I've got no, and I was just telling, you know, we got to talking, and then it simmered down a little bit. And then we got to be kind of good friends. And maybe not that call, but maybe the second call or the third call. We were good friends. We used to exchange Christmas cards and all, you know, call just to BS on the phone and stuff like that. But
do you have other memorabilia that go along with this, with the history of this bike?
Yes, and I'll tell you that too here in a second. But when after the second or third call, he says, you know what? This bike is where it belongs. He goes, I can feel your passion through this phone. And, I know I said, Stan, I'm going to preserve your legacy. Don't you worry. And we are, and we're going to do that. But what I also got, look at it. That's right after we restored it. And that's with his wife, Britt. And she just passed away too. You know, Kenneth is, so anyway, they sold, the guy, sold me so with the bike I got the jersey he wore in 1961.
Okay.
The Lito jersey. It's purple. The actual jersey. I got one of his Cromwell helmets that he wore. Yeah, there it is. That helmet. And he hand painted that himself. I've got those leathers he's wearing. I've got his boots. So we have his gear. Stay tuned for more about Stan London in the IMM.
From the drawings that I have seen for the IMM, when you first walk in, there's an extremely large, like 35 feet long, 9 feet high, beautiful picture. And this is it right here.
There it is. Look at that.
It stretches. I mean, it is literally life size.
Look at that picture.
And it's so clear.
Yeah.
It's so clear. And we've got a picture of the helmet you were talking about. There's the bike with the #1 plate.
That's it. Look at that. That's history. Look at the crowd. I mean, you know, they would get, you know, Les Archer was another good friend of mine, 1956 world champion. And we would go on Skype 2 or 3 times a week sometimes. I'd fly to Spain to see him, and we'd hang out for a week, 10 days and stuff. And he would tell me all these stories, and I recorded all of it. And he would tell me, you know, that right after World War II, the animal spirits just came out, you know, from everyone being suppressed and in a bunker and being blown up and everyone's family members getting killed and just carnage everywhere. And he said the animal spirits were out, and sometimes, especially in the Eastern countries, there would be sometimes over 200,000 spectators at one of these Grand Prix. And the more I learn about this, the more I'm not so, I think maybe that was the golden age.
Yeah, Terry, I agree with that. And we all, of course, want to, how can I say it? We all want it, we all want the time that we rode to be the golden era. So yeah, maybe in America, 74 through 84, but there was a whole lot going on before that, and there was a lot of technology and a lot of things happening. And just the same way that we hear stories about works bikes and corporate espionage at some point, it was even more quieter, more closer, more undercover over there, because that was sort of the mentality of what was going on there too.
That's
and
right.
To be a winner, to be triumphant in anything, of course, in a motorsport as well, was quite prestigious. I wanted to mention one thing to the people who are watching this show. When you get to the IMM and you see this picture, you can literally see the blades of grass in front of those motorcycles.
Yeah.
Who took this picture, Terry? Do you know?
I don't know, but I bought so many photo collections, and the actual photo is a lot clearer than what you're seeing here. I mean, you can see the whites of their eyes.
Yes, you can. So when it does happen, it does open. Well, you won't be able to miss this picture.
No.
Sure.
It really captures the spirit of the sport in those days, I think.
I saw this front number plate on this bike, and I thought to myself, well, I overthought it, really. So here, we're looking at it, and I'm saying Storken. Now, that can't mean stork.
Yeah, it does.
But it actually does.
Stan was a tall, thin dude. Uh-huh. And so, those guys were living and camping in tents and stuff like that, going to the Grand Prix and they would travel in little caravans and things like that. And sometimes they'd stop at the side of a road, somewhere in Switzerland or wherever, and they'd wash in the lake. And some guy, so they had stopped, and there was a little pond or something down there, and Sten was down in the, in his BVDs, washing, and the guy up at on the road looked down at him and said he looked like a stork. So that's it. So that became his nickname. And I asked him to sign that number plate, and he did. It wasn't originally signed, but I really wanted that thing signed by him. And him and Bill Nielsen flew to Chicago one time, and I got to meet him in person and take him out to lunch and all that. And what a champion, And something else about this bike, if you want, here's something really trick. Go to look at that thing, just the profile of it.
Amazing.
When I bought this thing, Dave Arnold and I have been friends for 50 years. And I told Dave Arnold I bought the bike, and Dave goes bicycle riding with DeCoster.
Yes.
Every Thursday or something, Wednesday or Thursday. And when I bought the bike, I told Dave about it, and Dave was down at Roger's house and said, "Hey, Terry bought Sten London's Lito." And Roger's like, "No, he didn't buy that bike. I know that bike." And he goes, it turned out, Roger told Dave, he goes, that's my favorite bike of all time. He said, everything on that bike is just proportionate. It looks exactly like where it should be. And Roger didn't believe him.
Yeah.
And Dave said, "No, I think he bought it, Roger. I think he's got it." And he didn't.
Yeah. I've been in Roger's company several times, at your house one time with the bikes around. And as he walks through, say, the display that you had set up in Northfield at Pinstripes, it's, how can I say it? You feel that the master is walking around looking at all these works of art and which one is going to catch his eye and which one isn't. And he's going to just keep on going or whatever. But he does take an interest in everything. And the first time I was at your house, got this picture.
Yeah.
And, it was like the man in the wild, and there's this beast, and he's taming it. And here's Roger DeCoster at that time, probably 77, 78. He's bending over with his water on the seat of the bike, and he's actually taking pictures because he truly, truly loves this motorcycle.
Loves it.
And it just, you wonder what is Roger's favorite bike, and that is it.
That's it right there. And
this truly is it. This is a picture by George. This is a picture from George Ackerman at the Pinstripes event too. And there are some other things that we're going to be talking about in just a minute. Hey, Terry, just give me 1 second here. I want to thank our sponsors of our show, Racer X, of course, the International Motocross Museum, Motion Pro, SoCal Mako, Armor Preston Petty Products, Full Circle Racing, and Amsoil. Now, we can get back to talking about some of the really cool parts on this bike, Terry. And when we talk about handmade and some things that are unusual, and you can't even see things in the pictures all the time.
right.
This right here, there's a lot going on.
There is. And the probably the most impressive thing, and again, I have the blueprint for this bike,
Yes.
including that swing arm. And if you look carefully at that swing arm, you can see, we would call it tapered tubing, but when
Yep.
Sten was telling me about it, he called it conical tubing. And that was made from Sweden was known for their real high quality steel. I'm assuming chromoly steel,
Yes.
but this was made out of the highest quality Swedish tubing, and it's a conical tubing in shape. You can see it tapers going back towards the rear axle.
You can, and if you look closely at the picture through the spokes, you could see it on the other side of the swing arm.
There you go. Yep.
Even a little bit better.
And so those bikes we just talked, those bikes were around 320 pounds. Some of the early 50s ones were pushing 350. This one here weighed in at a very svelte 280.
That is far lighter. Wow.
It is.
50, 60 pounds.
Yeah. And it was little techniques like this that got the weight down. There's other things too. But the thing that DeCoster was taking a picture of in the picture you took of him was that swing arm. And then look at that real elaborate chain adjuster.
Incredible.
Yeah. And it's all machined from billet, aluminum. And then another thing that was developed in this bike that Sten, it was his idea, I believe, was that the rear brake rod is not a brake rod. That is an actual cable.
Yes.
And that was done so if there was these guys are driving from Sweden or Belgium, they're driving all over Europe, and they don't need any DNFs. So if there was some kind of an accident or a mishap, or someone ran into your back end there and bent the brake rod, it might give you a DNF. So that cable gave you a more progressive feel, and it also saved you from a DNF. That's what he told me. Yeah. Yep.
Just above, I don't think it's a Heim joint, but just below the little yellow at the bottom of the plate, it looks like Sten autographed it. Is that in paint? Is that in like silver marker? That's
in paint. Yeah, he painted this. He's a really good mechanic, and all those guys were. And he restored the bike. He put it back together, and he did such a good job. And then he signed his name on each side of it like that in with a paintbrush, a little paintbrush. But another thing I'm looking at here and just thought of, those rims. Yeah. Those rims are special, super lightweight steel rims just for him, just for factory riders. I don't know if anyone else got them or just him, but Dunlop in England made those rims for him. And he said they're very light. And that tire is made by Dunlop in England. And they used, back in those days, that's a 19-inch
on the rear, yes.
rear wheel.
Yep.
So they were ahead of their time. I mean, you can, these were not, a street bike with the lights taken off. These guys, when you guys come into the IMM, you will see so much stuff related to this bike, including the actual original blueprints dated in 1959, signed by the engineers that I bought. It cost me a fortune. But, and those are the original Girling shocks that Sten used. Go back to that engine picture again. Okay, that cylinder was taken to Germany, and they were chrome plating the cylinders for the cylinder bore back in those days.
In 1958, 1959, they had
yes.
chrome bore?
Yeah. That thing is chrome, and I believe, I got to listen to that tape that Stan and I talking about all this, but I believe the company that did all the chrome bores and all that for the Mercedes race team is the one that did this. But for sure it was in Germany, and that was a big deal. That was like a secret.
Another fascinating, yet it looks so dangerous, and the pegs on this bike.
Yeah.
Look at that triangle-shaped welding and the huge bolts holding it. It's unbelievable.
It's just a monstrosity. And you know what? I've got archive photographs of this bike in the paddock or in the pits in 1961 with a real close-up shot of the engine and that foot peg. And you can look at the peg today and look at it in that archive shot from 60 years ago.
Yeah.
More than that. And it's exactly, you just go, God, there it is. Huh. It's really cool. It's just, it might be the most valuable motocross bike in the world. I don't know.
Well, Terry, considering the history of it, how many years that one bike raced with only minor improvements and how successful it was.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else. I mean, throughout the 70s, the works bike era, to some, the golden age, bikes were changing by the week.
Yeah.
By the week, let alone a bike that was basically the same and winning world championships for 5 years.
The more, I'm telling you, my favorite era is the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s to probably the later 70s. But, the more I go back and the more I hear and the more I talk to guys like Stan and Bill Nielsen and Leslie Archer, oh, God, he would tell me stories about guys like August Mingles and Rene Barton and holy smokes, it's still, it makes the hair on my, stand up.
Yeah. And you also have to think about the history of Europe as a whole. And, during that time and World War and where there's still an Iron Curtain and where you're not going and where you are going.
Yeah.
It's just a fascinating history of Europe too. And that was one of the things I actually excelled in so much in high school was European history.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah.
Teachers really thought that I was interested in European history. Well, I was, but what made me interested in it was motocross, because I didn't know the difference between Switzerland and Sweden. I didn't, you just didn't think about that.
Oh.
And but as I grew more interested in motocross, I grew more interested in that as well. One more picture of the man.
Oh yeah, there he is. Just staring at it. He just
yeah, he glazes over when he looks at that bike.
When I made the deal with him to buy all his bikes, I was staying at his house,
Yeah.
And I was, I had my own room and all that. And God, it was like 3:00 in the morning and I just couldn't believe it. I'm buying everything in there, and I just couldn't take it any longer. And 3:00 in the morning, I got up. The whole house is just dark. And I got up and I went downstairs and I was in the garage at 3:00 in the morning by myself, just staring at everything.
Yeah.
And that's what he's doing there to that. Yeah. It's the same thing.
Terry, throughout my research on the Lito Monarch, another bike came up. It is also made in Sweden. Similarities are very close. And that's the Husqvarna.
Yeah. The
So
factory.
now-
Yep.
This is one of your bikes as well. Is this a Bill Nilsson bike?
No, this one went to a guy. Okay, there's 4 or 5 full factory works Husqvarna 4-strokes
Okay.
ever made.
Throughout-
Tiblin, I believe, had the first 2. Bill Nielsen had one. This one was used. Tiblin had 2 of them in '62.
Mhm.
The guy that was the team manager of Husqvarna, I forget his name, but I have the letter. There's a man in England who knows more about these old 4-strokes than anyone in the world probably. His name is Alan Arnott. And there was a guy, so he knows the history of all this stuff. One of those 2 went to the distributor in Finland and was raced in the 1963 Finnish 500 championship by a guy named, oh man, I know his name. I'm gonna go to it right now because you have
1963 Finnish World Championships?
Finnish National Championship. So hold on, I'm gonna go to it and get his name. Arnola Eerola.
Yes.
Arno Eerola, maybe that's it. Arno Eerola used this bike. It was, sent to Finland. It remained in Finland because then Husky pulled out of the GPs too with those big 4-strokes. And that was it. They stopped making them. They never sold these either. But one of them got out and went to Finland. And Arno Eerola, that's his name,
Yes.
won the 1963 Finnish 500 National Championship. And he was a really good rider. You talk to guys like, I know Dave Bickers and other guy, even Joel, hey, that guy, I think he would place sometimes in the Grand Prix. He was good.
Did
good.
Headland build this engine?
I don't know about this one. I know on Sten's, the Lito,
Well, it looks so much like it.
it's the same. It's the same engine, but it's that one there.
Yeah.
Monarch built that. Headland built them one, but Sten liked this one better.
Gotcha.
And so the other thing that Sten liked on this bike better than what was kind of in vogue at the time was everybody was using those high performance AML carburetors.
Yeah.
And it was power on top, and Sten liked more of a smooth power. And so he used this one here, which was a special thing. I'm thinking of this stuff as we're looking at the bike, but that carb is very special too.
Yeah, and the intake looks a little different. I mean, I don't know if the word monoblock is the right word.
One of them's monoblock. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And wow. What else we have? Hey, this is you look pretty happy in this picture, Terry.
That was the day I brought it, or that it arrived. It came in a crate, and I borrowed a friend's pickup truck. I didn't even have a van. I don't think. I borrowed somebody's pickup truck and went to, over by O'Hare to pick it up. And man, I'll tell you, I was so nervous bringing that thing home. And I think you got a picture of it in the crate, don't you, in the pickup truck?
I do.
Somewhere. There it is. So it came in that little skinny crate. And it was in the pickup truck, and I was going real slow and just everything. And there it was. I couldn't believe it. Between the time I sent the money, like I told you, it was the most I ever spent on a bike up until that time. And I was like, man, but I did all this research and everything. And the guy, this guy sent me photos, and they were teaching me stuff. And I was kind of being taken into this little group of enthusiasts. And they were educating me on all this. And, me, I'm an enthusiast myself, and I retain all this stuff, or I try to. And so that's it. And that's a massive piece of motocross history. And you and I are going to do a really good job of preserving this and educating the world.
I'm looking forward to that, Terry. And I also want to bring something else to some of the viewers' attention. There are so few of these Litos that were ever built, and I was involved with a deal going back almost 10 years now, to where a customer that I had that I restored some bikes from bought the Grismer collection. In there was a Lito. I'm not going to get into serial numbers and Litos and this and that, but there's actually a registry for these bikes. And
right.
unless, and I didn't know you that well, Terry. So unless you have one, you're not getting into that inner circle and seeing that book.
No.
Or knowing anything about it. I know things about it now. I can't discuss them. But it is a extremely tight-knit little organization for those Litos, of which there are only a handful.
There were, I think, 32 of them built.
Yeah.
And there was the guy that built the frames for those. Yeah. He built these other ones in the early 90s, and and they were replica engines. I think the engines were actually cast in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And then he built replica frames, and it was an actual, if you were going to buy a replica, you would want one of those. And those trade for big dollars too.
I think Tom White bought one.
No, I don't even think his is one of those.
Oh, no? But his is not, his was, he admitted that it was a replica.
Yeah, and I told him, he sent me pictures of it before he bought it, and then I sent him to this little group I'm in, and they said, nope. It took him like 2 seconds to figure it out. Yeah. And he bought it anyway. And then he told everyone it was real.
Wow. You know,
his Husky's that way, everything. So
that's another reason why there needs to be, this museum needs to be finished and put up and get some real information out there, and the real information, not just hearsay. Right. And I got an email from or some kind of text message. You also have, you've got the Lito, you've got this Husky. Is there anything else from that era that is in the IMM that is in that category? Yeah,
there will be. I'm going to stay mum on it for right now, but
okay.
Oh yes, don't worry, man. There will be no shortage of this stuff.
Okay. And you've got the helmet, and you've got the leathers and boots. I'm thinking of the Les Archer collection. You got a lot of things from Les Archer.
I got all of his stuff too. Yeah, he was, oh God, his stuff. In fact, I just posted a little anecdote about it with a picture. I was in Spain a while back, before he passed away, and I was at his house, and took a picture of him standing in front of his trophies and all his dad's trophies, and his grandfather went back to 1924 to the first race. You got the history is just insane. And guys, I'll tell you this, not long ago, I just read that the Teapot Museum opened teapots.
Yeah.
In Kentucky or Ohio or something like that. There's a teapot museum. And I'm, and we don't, and you've got a sucker here that went and did all this for motocross. Let's open this thing, okay?
Yeah. Well, we're getting closer, Terry.
Yeah, we are. We're doing a good job.
And look, it's taking more time. Well, it just takes more time. It'll happen when it happens, and it's got to do that. So
yeah.
In the meantime, I think we went through the pictures and we've got a really good idea of what happened with Lito and Monarch. And I know what it was. You just brought up Les Archer a moment ago. Wasn't it the Archers that was like the great-grandfather, the grandfather, then Les, who all raced the Isle of Man?
Yeah, and the grandfather was the Princess Christine's chauffeur in the royal family in like 1906 or something.
Well,
crazy. The royal family, when Les Archer was first, he was racing road race for the Factory Nortons on those Manx, and then he got into motocross and he liked motocross better, and he was real successful at that. The royal family gave Les Archer the military grounds that Caesar camped at 1,000 years earlier to make a motocross track on to train.
wow.
I'm telling you, the history of all of this. We're in the dull period now. We're Justin Bieber and all.
Means this is like a snoozer. It really is. I'm sorry.
We're in the stupid part, sticker kit bikes. But anyway, this is, I don't mean to say that. It's all good. But the history of this, and when all this stuff, and we've got it preserved. And like I said, this will be 48 years coming up that I've gone around the world preserving this stuff. There'll be more content in this museum than any other motorsports museum in the world, period.
Terry Good, the International Motocross Museum. Terry, after we're done, don't get off the computer. I want to make sure this gets downloaded so we can preserve it for the IMM or for anybody that may want to watch it in the future. But I want to thank you again for taking some time to speak to us this week regarding this amazing Monarch, Lito, really.
Yeah.
And you know what? While I'm thinking about it, the next episode we do together, which may be in a couple of weeks, a bike that I know is near and dear to your heart, the Joe Abbate 250 RH Suzuki.
Oh, yeah. That's my favorite.
I know it is.
Yeah.
I know it is. And we'll have that on the next time, okay?
You got it. Okay, Joe.
Terry Good, the International Motocross Museum. Thanks, Terry.
My pleasure. Talk soon.
Terry Good, the International Motocross Museum. We're going to take a little break. We're going to hear from our friends over at Full Circle Racing. Then we'll be back to wrap up the show.
I get asked often, what's the most important thing on Clunker? Answer simple, it's me. That's why I use Full Circle Racing wheels prepped by Tom McAllister. So should you. Watch this and learn why. When racing vintage motocross where suspension is very limited, your wheels can be the difference between winning or serious injury. We chose to run Full Circle Racing wheels because of the super high quality materials and the heavy duty spokes used. Prepped by Tom McAllister, I have the confidence on the track to push way harder through the rough stuff and the bigger jumps, knowing my wheels are going to stay under me. Hey, Clunker may be 50 years old, but his wheels are brand new, and yours should be too. Call Tom McAllister at Full Circle Racing today.
All right, we are back. We've got a couple of announcements before we call it a night here at Vintage Motocross Q&A. The Mid-Atlantic Northeast Regional Awards Banquet that happens on Saturday, January 10th. I will be there because I'm going to be there for the York Swap Meet, which is the next day. And what's really great about this event, Tommy Croft is your honored guest. Tommy, a factory Hodaka rider, and of course, a Honda Icon. You can still get your tickets, but you better get them quick, okay? That's the night before the York Swap Meet, the Mid-Atlantic Northeast Regional Awards Banquet. And as I mentioned, the York Swap Meet is the next day. Where am I here? Here we go. The York Swap Meet is the next day. There's a bike show. The booths go quickly, guys, and it's less than 60 days away. So if you want to be a part of the York Swap Meet, get a hold of Mike Slate or Bill Nasalrod, and they'll put you in touch with who you got to be in touch with in order to reserve a booth. Thank you, Ben's Vintage Mini Bike Podcast. Ben just also signed up for our show supporter special, which for $50, you get your name on the board behind me, and you get a shop apron, a poster, and a T-shirt. All right? That wraps it up for this week's Vintage Motocross Q&A. I think that, I always have to thank Russell Waters for our AMSOIL stuff. And when we come back next week with our regular show, Ted Boyko will be back. The expansion chamber will be here. We've got some videos from Roy, and we've got some new stuff coming up from Jeff Kokoski as well. But in the meantime, I'm Joe Abbate. Thank you for joining me on this 19th day of November already. We'll see you next week on Vintage Motocross Q&A.